Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Drew and Friends, special masterclass with Drew Irvin, concertmaster of the Arkansas Symphony Orchestra. I can't believe this is already the fourth monthly masterclass that Drew has given for our ASO family and for our audiences. And what you're about to witness, if you haven't caught one of these before, is an inside look at how young musicians are trained. And the masterclass setting is one of the most important formats for learning because it is the combination of a private lesson and a public performance in one. And what you'll hear, and you'll hear the faculty introduced by Drew here just in a moment, but you'll hear three of our wonderful youth orchestra students perform music they're preparing for auditions coming up, and then they will receive feedback and coaching from the faculty. So it's a wonderful opportunity to work up your performance chops and to also show our audiences what our education programs look like, or one angle, one small slice of what our education programs look like. And so we're gonna jump right in, and I'm gonna throw things over to ASO Concertmaster, Drew Irvin.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for those who will maybe watch on YouTube or Facebook, or when it's archived for later. I also want to thank these young artists for coming today. It's always an amazing pleasure for me to get to hear and work with these young ones. They are, as Jeff said, they're all seniors. And we usually put more people in this hour, but we wanted to get a little more in depth, and we wanted to give these seniors a specific chance to try and get a little more attention, because they've already been working like crazy to get an awful lot of music ready, to get an awful lot of different variety of repertoire. In fact, some of the people playing tonight have already played on Drew and Friends and have already made recordings and or tapes or sent in applications for auditions that will be January, February, and March, or all online or on recording. Let me start with thanking my peers. As always, thank you, Jeff Robson, for coming. Pedagogue extraordinaire, our acting artistic director of the Arkansas Symphony. He's an amazingly fun teacher to work with. And then also tonight, we also have Catherine Williamson, who is the head of the Sturgis Academy and my beloved assistant concertmaster in our Arkansas Symphony. So I always love to see her and catch up with her. And then the newbie for the night in the faculty is Dr. Stephen Feldman, who is professor of cello at University of Central Arkansas and musician and pedagogue extraordinaire. So much fun to work with, to play with, to watch him teach, to listen to him teach. And so we are just gonna dive right in. So the first thing we're gonna hear, I'd like to pass it off to Caitlin Lyle. Please feel free to tell us what you're going to play.
Hi, I'm Caitlin, and Catherine is my teacher, and I'm going to be playing the second movement of Bach's E major partita for violin.
Applause, applause, the silent applause of Zoom online. Thank you, Caitlin, so much. I just wanted to dive in immediately and ask you a question at the beginning. I want to know about where you were in your head and in your body. Did you feel at all a little, like, how nervous were you on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being 10 being like, oh no?
Like a 6, maybe.
Okay, yeah, so a little bit more than, yeah, that's getting there, right? Good. That's really, really important to know, because when you guys do your auditions, or when you guys do a live audition, it's stressful. You kind of, like, everyone wants to go in there and really do their best. The most important thing I think that can really help is almost over practicing the beginning, knowing the first 7 to 10 seconds so well that you can wake up in the middle of the night, pick up the violin and do exactly what you want. If I asked you to play the first measure and a half again, I'm interested to see how it would feel now that you've done a run through. Good, good, good. That felt so much better already. But how do we get that the first time? That's why I'm really grateful for classes like these, where you just have to really plan it out. One of my coping mechanisms, when I am stressed, I plan everything out. I do exactly how much bow I'm going to use. And I look down at the bow and I go, da, 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 and I use exactly the amount. I noticed when you started, like, the bow didn't want to move. I could see. And one of the things when we have adrenaline coursing through our system, fight or flight makes our muscles close down. We have to train them to release no matter what. It's really a tricky thing for us artists to do, to be able to be in a situation where the muscles relax. So I would just do the first octave to the G sharp. Ba-da-dum. Just do that again. And really pay attention to exactly how much bow you're using. Delightful. Now, can you do the exact same thing again and just breathe beforehand? And I would do work like that in small segments all the way through. And I think it's time to, I'd love to work with you, because you got so many wonderful things to say. And I love this piece and you're doing such great work, but I'm going to pass it off to someone else who wants to chime in.
I'll jump in right where you left off, Drew, actually. I find that playing solo Bach, it's so incredibly easy to get stuck using only about a third of the bow. And especially in a movement like this, and the third of the bow where we usually get stuck is the tip, especially when we're nervous. It can be harder to get into the lower half of the bow. So when you practice this, I would suggest trying to exaggerate your use of the lower half of the bow. So I'd actually like to ask, before we talk about phrasing, I'd like to ask you to play that first bar again. And can you actually go all the way to the frog on the second note? So start where you were starting, but why not have the whole bow for that first long down bow?
Okay.
Really nice. I mean, I think everyone would, by the nods, I think we even over Zoom, we could hear how that had so much more breath and so much more life. And really, I think you can pursue that in every measure of the piece. Now, this movement is very difficult because it's difficult to find starting and ending points for the phrases, and difficult to find an arc to the phrase. So when you start playing this movement, where is the first spot that you get to where you feel like that is the end of the first sentence of my soliloquy.
For me, I'm thinking that the end of the second full measure, that sixth from the G sharp to the E, is kind of the first ending of a sentence.
And then what happens from there?
I feel like there's a little bit of a breath on that third, and then you kind of build up again, and then there's some tension on the seventh from the B to the A, and it starts to resolve around the F sharp.
And really even 2 beats later, right? And Bach does this beautiful thing where the phrase both ends and begins at the same time. But there's a wonderful moment there for a breath. I would say really try to exaggerate your moments that you're going to and the moments that you're coming from. And of course we could talk endlessly about the phrasing. I personally find that the second bar is sort of rather than being a big breath movement, is more of a surprise continuation. So you could consider trying to keep the phrase going there, but just exaggerate the phrases. And maybe I'll let one of the others weigh in here before asking you to play that opening phrase again.
I'm happy to have her go ahead and get a chance to play, and then we'll jump in some more. Good. I'm a cellist, so I don't really know what I'm talking about. But can you just take a 1-octave scale in sort of in this register, and can you go ahead and play 2 beats, 1, 2 beats, 1, 2 beats. Just sort of dealing with this. Sometimes I call it bad math, but I realize it's too negative. So it's sort of invisible math where we need to make 2 beats equal to 1. And so that lightness we need on beat 3, sometimes we don't let the gear change kick in right away at the beginning of the two beats that follow. So just get in the groove of maybe 5 notes of the scale, each pitch twice, 2 beats, then 1. Good. Sometimes this is a challenge. Sometimes we need that bowing, but go ahead and start on a down bow. 2 beats on the down. 1, 2 beats. 1. But be extra light on the up bows, so that not only do we need to lighten them because they're faster, but that makes them equal. But actually want them to be lighter still. So we want to kind of make them as a quarter of the weight of the other. So just try. Yeah, your second up bow was my favorite. That one really, right from the beginning, had the most light, because sometimes there's just a little left over of the down bow sort of weight and connection. And then doing the same thing in reverse, like you start closer to the way you started, starting on an up bow, down, up. That's maybe the more challenging to lighten up a down bow. But just sort of getting in the groove of those so that the dance of this is in your body to begin with. And of course, you've got all of the gnarly left-hand stuff to get in the mix. But just try leave out the pickups, but try from the downbeat of the first measure now, and try and engage, really embrace that lightness of those beat threes. Good, keep going. I like that. That was definitely getting that lilt, that dance of the Lore there. Go on from there. Good. Just this last idea here, and then I'm going to step aside since I am a cellist. I call this a backdoor cadence because we are falling. So we have an interesting last, and then the main note, and then interesting, but then the note we expect part of the cadence. So ti-ra-di-dum. If you can really let that disappear to nothing, we get that rest, we get the rest, the breath of the cadence. And then take your time. Don't be in a hurry to get started after. Like you said, actually, that bit of rest. You can take a split second to gather a new bit of energy for the new. So maybe the last measure of the first line, and I know we're getting close, and I'll shut my mouth. That's the idea. Not necessarily slowing down our backdoor cadence, letting the decay in sound, but also being careful to not reflexively use more bow, most and least bow. And then from there, hopefully you're in a good place to be generous on the note that follows.
And we are almost out of time, but I wanted to do one last, a little question answer with you, Caitlin. I know, because I know your teacher's commitment in her studio. Have you been singing this much?
Yeah, a decent amount, just like throughout the day.
Yeah.
I kind of sing it.
Good. Have you ever tried singing the bottom part? There's a lot of times you have 2 and 3 notes. Have you ever tried listening to the bottom part? Like, for example, it would be really wonderful to do that in measure, checking my measures, trying to read them. I can't read them that small. The G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, that bottom line on the bottom of the second line, last measure. So, and being able to sing the bottom parts while you play the top part. It's a little tricky. It's a little weird to try and do double stop with yourself while you're trying to play. But if you go really, really slow, you can do it. If I ask you, if it wasn't as in tune as I know you like to be, if there was a voice that was more out of tune, which one was it? Top or bottom voice?
The bottom voice?
Yeah. Listen down more and lead with that voice. That should be the one in your brain. In fact, you can even think of playing the double stop. Feel as if your bow is more on the lower string. Because the audience, the world, our ears, we are drawn to the higher notes all the time. And especially when we're nervous, when we're in that pressure situation of auditioning, we just go to the top and we start not feeling the bottom. But think of you're being a good second violinist. When you have an amazing inner voice player with you, it makes first violin so much easier. And they can enable your success. They can lead you, and let that bottom voice be your fixer. let it lead you safely up and into or out, in through the challenging things. And thank you so much, Caitlin. I really appreciated your hard work. It's always a pleasure to see and hear you. I love how your bow arm looks. It looks even better than the last time I saw it.
Thank you so
And
much.
now I would thank you, Caitlin, and we're going to go on now to Dayton.
Hi, I'm Dayton Strick. I'm a senior at Mills High School, and I will be playing the first movement of the Mozart Violin Concerto, or no, the exposition of the first movement of the third Mozart Violin Concerto. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Dayton, sounds great. Is it okay if I jump in? Okay, awesome. So similarly to what Drew was saying to Caitlin, what are you thinking about right before you start?
I was pretty nervous right before I started.
Okay. So using Drew's scale, what number?
Probably like 6 or 7.
6 or 7? Okay. Okay. Well, hey, that's not too bad. All right. So something that I try and tell all of my students, even if they're tiny, is finger before bow. Right? Especially at the start of something like that. So I want you to try it again from the very beginning and just think, okay, left hand is in the string. Okay, let's just think that one thing, and then we'll talk maybe about some more things that you could think of. Okay, good. That's already better. All right. So I can still hear though a little bit of anxiety. All right. So I'm wondering how often are you listening to this piece?
Um, Probably not as often as I should.
Okay, that's almost an answer to my question.
Um,
Like, is it every day, or
no,
is it how many times per week do you think?
probably like 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay. Um, and I know we're all so busy, even with having virtual classes. I'm not sure what your situation is, but finding time, it can be when you're doing the dishes, it can be when you're doing something else. I think we need both passive and active listening in our lives. Okay. One of the best ways to memorize anything is actually through passive listening. So you don't even really realize it's getting into your system. All right. I think that almost above all else, obviously you need to work with metronome. I think you know what kind of work you need to do, but I really want you to add more listening in your life. Okay? Because the orchestra should be in your brain. At least you want to think at least 4 bars before you start. Right now it seems like you're thinking maybe half a bar. Okay? Do you know what the orchestra has right before you come in?
Yes.
Can you sing it?
I don't think so.
Okay, so that should be in your head. I'm not going to make you do that out loud for us over the internet right now, but can you sing that much in your head and start again from the beginning? That's better. That's better. It's still rushing a bit. So I am going to prescribe you more metronome practice and also more rhythmic practice. And also to, I'm not sure, I think maybe Drew has his students do this. I know it's not everybody likes this idea, but to actually play along with the recording. Like with the orchestra in your head. Okay. You're gonna have to, we all know how to kind of finagle our headphones at this point to make that happen. And then I'll say just one more thing before we move on to someone else. Dynamics. Okay, what kind of musical work is Mozart really well known for writing? I know you talk about this with Drew all the time.
Opera.
Operas, right? So there's so many different personalities going on. Okay, and I think that mainly can come out in your dynamics. Okay, I heard almost forte the whole time. Your sound is so much better. It's awesome, but now it's time to vary it. Okay, so could you play for us from? It's kind of awkward, maybe from 62, and I want to hear a big difference between that and the gracioso that comes next, the piano.
From 62?
I know it's kind of awkward.
Until when?
Just play maybe like 8 bars.
Okay.
Good, Dayton. The dynamics are much better. So this is another spot here in between these two ideas where you need to hear the orchestra. You're coming in just a little early. Okay. And your recording, have you made your recording yet?
No.
No. Are you recording with piano?
Probably.
Okay, that'll help a lot. Okay. And then make sure that you're not kicking the end of these phrases. Right? I would take a pencil and put diminuendo. All right, sorry, I'm hogging. I'm done hogging.
I thought those were great comments. I'm, as usual, just going to piggyback on those themes. Working backwards, just right where you just were. I think the dynamics were better, but the character, da 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 da, ya da 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 da. It's like, give me the toy. Oh, but I want it. It's there's this dialogue here that I think it's more than dynamics. It's in your brain. How do you want it to sound? And so that wasn't really where I was going to focus with working on you, but that's such a great example that Catherine pointed to of where you need to bring out that contrast, because yes, those are not, that's not one violin, that's one person and another person having a conversation, and so you demonstrate that. But going back to the beginning, I was all fall I've been sitting in on these master classes with the wind and brass sections of the youth orchestra with the principals from the symphony, and it's been really, really interesting to get in the mind of some of the great wind players, and they approach things so differently than how we do. And Catherine talked about metronome work. I'm just going to throw this out to you. Do you know what metronome speed you're going to make your recording at?
Probably, I think around 120-ish, but probably a little higher than that.
Okay. Good. I'm glad. I'm yeah, super pleased that you're coalescing around an idea there. I would urge you to make that choice so that you can practice up to that, you can practice around that, and then you have this like bullseye target that will really help you be a lot more consistent with the rhythm. Another thing that this came out of having to do with playing with good rhythm. This came out of a class. I'm not can't take credit for this. This was something David Renfro mentioned listening to some horn players, and he was talking about long notes and rhythm, and he was like, if you're playing solo, you cannot use rubato on a long note. It just sounds like bad rhythm. You can only do rubato when it can be compared with other notes, right? So if you're trying to phrase something, you can't let any fluctuations of tempo happen on a long note. And so for me, what's really getting me, what makes it sound more anxious than I think even you're feeling, is the length of bum 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 isn't consistent. And I would add to that, I'm not going to suggest a bowing change by any means, but there is a separation between, and right now it sounds totally slurred in. I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether that's intentional, but it is affecting the quality of the rhythm there. So if you think click, 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 or click, 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 that will help. But you particularly on long notes can't allow for any sort of imprecision on the rhythms. Will you play that first bar one more time, and then you've got a few more minutes to hear from the others. It was better, yeah. Do it one more time. It was considerably better. Do it one more time and keep going just a little bit through the sequence. The first one was good, but the second one was not good. Let's make them both good. One more time. Rhythmically much better. Now the long note. What are you going to do to make the long note interesting? Like you're doing a nice dum but your left hand's not helping it at all. Maybe you can have a little, along with this burst of bow speed, a burst of vibrato. Or vibrate. One more time. All of the above. Yeah, I would suggest practicing exactly how much you're going to push into the string on those pairs of slurs. Figuring out exactly what you want those to sound like, how much pressure you're going to put on the first note with the bow, and the extent to which you release. There's nothing happens by chance, nothing happens by accident. It all happens because you planned it out.
Mm-hmm.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I'm going to just say a few things. Number number one, these questions of rhythm, I think, are connected to the ornamentation of this piece. I mean, this is so gallant. There's so much rich detail to the ornamentation, but I think it's really important to be clear in your head and then in your hands where those ornaments relate to the beat. 98% of the time, when I have a chord, you know, a 3-note, 4-note chord, I think of the top of the chord as the beginning of the beat. So no matter what happens before, once you get to the top, that's when the clock has started. And you can have slow breaks, you can have fast breaks. I think we're all hearing the top of your chord as the beginning of your first quarter note, but I'm not sure if you haven't started the clock on the bottom. So we hear you a little bit early to beat 2. So say you went, that would be terrible to be such a slow break. But the beginning, then beat 2 is clear. Then this pa-dum, bum, I think definitely on the beat, especially because there's no time to squeeze it before with all those 16ths before, but really feel it on the beat. The third measure has been the most successful because that ornament is the most direct. I do feel like the trill gets you into trouble. That's very strong right now. The impulse, the energy of its beginning, but stay at that light place. Use it to, don't let the trill poke out too much energy. Start small and grow to that beat there. And on the beat again, that appoggiatura of sorts. I'll leave it at that. So since then you're getting sort of win-win of rhythm and vitality of ornamentation and also focus of energies of phrase elements.
Thank you.
Anybody else having something they'd say? Then I would love to say I want to thank my peers because, of course, Dayton, he's my student. I've been working on these things, and I'm so grateful that you guys said these wonderful things. Now, here's when the teacher sometimes lays things down. Dayton, of all the stuff that you've heard tonight, was any of it 100% new?
No.
Yeah. But did it help though to hear it from other voices than mine? Because you hear mine every week, right? It's really, really important to hear it from other people. Even no matter what we want to have this. We build this relationship with our students, this trust, and they trust us. But I'm so grateful to have such great peers like this that can be like, you need to do this, you need to do this, and like, oh yeah, yes, thank you, tell them that, please, because we've worked through these things before, and it's beautiful things. But it is great because my peers have packaged it with different words or different ideas or from a different angle, and that's really, really important because that can help your brain as a young artist or as an adult artist to think of things just a little differently. So great work, Dayton. Keep it up, and I'll see you tomorrow for more. And now we're going to head on to Michael.
Hi, my name is Michael. I'm in 12th grade. I go to Central High School. I study with David Gerstein, and I'll be playing the exposition to the first movement of the Lalo cello concerto.
All right, I think it makes sense for me to take the lead on this one. And I'll start by saying bravo, Michael. Really very good, super job. Great energy, great colors. good job of staying mentally warm while on the having to wait for the end of the hour. So can you start the piece for us one more time? Great, thank you. So one thing I'll say right off the bat is that was really very consistent, the two performances. One of the reasons that I like to let a person have a second try is just to sort of, it's a great way to make yourself look good in a master class is to say stuff and then let the person play again, and then they feel better, already, or they're less nervous, and then it sounds like you're an amazing teacher. But so it's a testament to your preparation that and we asked the question with the others, but why not? I'll ask you as well. Where were you on your 1 to 10 scale of nervousness?
It's about a 4.5.
Okay, well, I would have taken you for a 2 to 2.5, especially again given the consistency levels of the two performances. Since this is about auditions, and this will sort of apply for everybody, my colleague Izzy Getzoff likes to say, when we're listening to auditions at UCLA, he likes to say, we have a filter which allows us to hear through nervousness. In auditions, there's sort of that understanding, there's an expectation, and there's a degree of grace in the auditioning process, especially in it's a live setting. Now this year we're doing our recorded versions, and there are challenges and pressures that are built into that. But live auditions, performing in general, it's really important to be sharing what you love about the piece and be leading with this sense of communicating, really focusing on the way you feel about this music, the love you have for it, the excitement you have for it, and make that your priority. So often we can go into something trying not to make mistakes or being worried about not doing our best. A way to turn that on its head is to sort of have this positive energy. Again, I think you really didn't make many mistakes. So to some extent, my sense is that you've got that well prioritized and well balanced in what you're doing. I do feel like big picture. Can you play for me? Can you play for us sort of 2/3 of the way through and play sort of maybe from measure 84? Do you have measure numbers in your part?
Yes.
So let me see how far to go. It's enough for now to go to C. Okay. Okay, watch the D flat, the last two notes before C. That's, you know, sort of the least good intonation that you've done. You know, the level of what you've done is very, very strong. The rhythm of this part can be a little more accurate. This idea, ba-bum, pa-pi-pi-bum, pa-pa-pa-ping. Sometimes you're cheating the quarter note type of thing. And of course, it's tied into the next dotted quarter type of thing. So make sure that you don't get to the fast notes a little bit in a hurry in order to squeeze them in. So really hang on that and hold. A lot of times where you are in the bow is going to help make things more or less possible. Where it's going to be pretty far out, maybe not too far, but know that you want to be here, and then very little bow for the 16ths when they're there. I do feel like also this sort of beginning of the closing material of measure 94. Can you play from 94 now? And do listen sort of this, that's a marching quality to it. Wait, let me see. Sorry, I said to the wrong place. 93 would be yum da 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 dee yum da da dee. This dotted quarter of our compound meter. Sometimes you're cheating that first quarter note. Wum ba da deem ba dee dee dum da dee da. 1 2 da 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 1 2 da da da. So try from 93.
You're muted.
Sorry about that. So this was, all of this was better. Be careful. I know I cut you off for that last little bit, but the big idea was better. Sometimes think of a new energy, new burst of energy on the downbeat, even though it's tied. And I think that will give you content for the full of that quarter. These two little parts are the place that, just from a technical standpoint, you can just clean up a little bit of what you're doing. But you know, this is such a colorful piece. You've got the passion of the piece. You're changing gears so nicely for the more poetic side of the piece, and the virtuosity of the speed playing, and the brilliance of the big fast shifts. So that's all really nicely prepared. I'll let my colleagues have a word in edgewise now.
Great comments, and Michael, really a great work on this piece, and just, you're so musical, and it's a very inspired performance. Two quick things. Well, three, I guess. I want to affirm what Dr. Feldman was saying about the rhythm, and again, it's those long notes followed by fast notes. If those long notes are not rhythmically accurate in their subdivision, then it just puts the whole thing on its head in terms of the pulse of it. So da 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 dum, da 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 dum has to be, you know, if you're getting extra dramatic, da 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 dum, you know, you might be able to get away with something on the faster notes, but not on the long notes, if that makes sense. But really, and the adjustments you made to what Dr. Feldman said were great. Just a little bit before that, I don't have measured numbers, but you have this section that Those long notes, you need to take extra special care to make sure the sound is sustained, right? It's dolcissimo. This is a long line. These are not small little motives. So ya da 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 da, really, really sustained with the bow. You want to start right there for like 1 second, and then I'll be very quick with my other spot. Good. It's much better with the bow, but I would like to see like 6 times more vibrato on the long note. Can you maybe trade a little bit of the density of the sound that you're creating with the bow, like for instead a slightly wider and faster vibrato on the long notes that will give it that dolcissimo character? One more time, a beautiful playing. Great. Yeah, I would encourage you to practice this by just taking the long notes kind of out of context. Whatever finger you're on, like play the one that's fourth finger, and then skip up to the next long note that's on a different finger, and just play the long notes back to back with the different fingers and practice matching the vibratos. And I think you'll have a lot of success with that. But great. The last thing I'm going to say, and then I'll give the guys a chance to chime in. The very opening, you know, something like you can really distinguish yourself immediately when you're auditioning, right? Like it's the first few notes say so much. I would really have a plan for how you want da-dum to sound, like how connected you want it to be, or whether you want it to be bum-bum, or want it to be yada, or want ba-ba, you know, exactly, experiment, and then match yourself these different ones. The first one is ba ya da 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 da. Then ba ya, like is it a little bit more aggressive, you know, and the timing of it, if you can find a consistency of the timing of those 16th notes, it can really unify your playing during that kind of free section as well. So those little pickup notes and how they relate to the downbeats are really important, I think. But great work.
I just have a couple of things. Michael, oh my gosh, just sounds great. Like, so much improvement since the last time I heard you. How often are you practicing scales?
I try and warm up about 30 minutes.
Okay, good. And are you practicing chromatic scales as well?
Rarely.
I think the opening is good. The intonation is good, but we want the intonation to be great. Okay? So I would just 10 minutes a day practice a D chromatic scale.
Okay.
All right? Or any key, but start with D. All right? Sometimes those half steps just aren't quite where I wanted them to be. Okay? You know what I'm talking about, I think.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I was going to say something similar to what Jeff just said about just distinguishing yourself right from the very beginning, really deciding exactly what you're going to say. And I just had a couple of things just for all three of you. Do all of you still have taping to do? Michael, are you done?
Yes, for the pre-screenings I'm done.
Okay. And you for sure have live auditions as well?
I haven't found out yet.
Okay. Okay, great. And I know that Caitlin, my dear, you still have the Bach to record, and Dayton, you still have everything to record. So something to think about that we've all kind of been struggling with during this time is either what's helped me, and I by no means have perfected any of this either, but what helps me the most is if I don't have someone in my circle that I can bring in to be my audience, I just pretend as hard as possible that someone else is there as an audience member, because you can really kind of go down the rabbit hole with takes and takes and takes and takes and takes. So my advice with just the recording process would be to pretend or have someone there to kind of be your audience, be a cheerleader for you, so you can play to a real thing. would be really helpful. Does anyone have any questions, maybe more about, is it okay if if we do more this direction? If anyone has any questions maybe about the recording process for what we're all dealing with in terms of the mental game that we might play, because I know that can be one of the most challenging things.
Because we do know all three of you have already done quite a bit of recording for youth orchestra, for your teachers, for just since all of us have been having this online life for a while. So you guys have already got some experience, but now is a good time to ask if you have anything, or we will, trust me, ask us and we'll discuss amongst ourselves and come up with an answer for you.
Yeah, and these kinds of tapes can be even more nerve-wracking than just sending something to myself or Jeff or Dr. Feldman or Drew. That can be, you're sending something to strangers, not someone that you know really well. So it can be another ball game. But all three of you sound just great, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And just kind of to echo what Drew said to Dayton, yes, it's so wonderful to have this resource, all these other teachers in our community to help our students. And something that I have thought about and will probably continue to think a lot about for myself is that you never know when something's going to click, and sometimes someone else has to say it with different words, and then you'll have that, oh, I got it now. So thank you, all three of you. Sound great.
Thank you, Catherine. What a great little segue. And I want to thank you, three young artists, for your amazing work and progress over the years. It has been an absolute pleasure and joy seeing you grow, and we are very excited to see what the future holds for all three of you. I want to thank my three awesome peers who came to co-teach with me tonight. And also, I always have to thank our amazing sound guy, Brandon. Thank you for all the work that you do for us. Look, see everybody. There we go. And one announcement before we head out. January 8th is the second Friday of next month, will be the next Drew and Friends, because January 1st is the first Friday, and no one's going to want to have a master class on New Year's Day.
No one wants to be taught by me on New Year's Day.
No. We all want to still be on vacation mode. And so we will do that on 6 p.m. on the January 8th, and hopefully we're hoping to get some more of the kids who are college bound for that next one specifically, so we can get more in detail work with those college targeted kids, because it's coming for you guys very quickly. So, and again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching, and have a wonderful holiday season. Enjoy yourselves. Have a good one. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Brandon.